The clocks have changed and it's getting dark quite early these days. There's a queer change in the evenings. But strangely enough, despite all the dire predictions from the weathermen of prolonged sub-zero weather, we've actually been experiencing warmer temperatures than we had during our so-called summer earlier this year. We haven't really had a proper frost yet. It just goes to show you what it shows you. You can never predict the weather in Ireland. It's always got a wee surprise in store for you. Mind you, mild as it's been, we've certainly been having more than our fair share of rain. Minging is a good Belfast description of it. That means it stinks. Or you could say it's been putrid. It's been coming down in bucketfuls or bucketing with rain. Or it's teeming down out there. I was getting some work done to my car the other day, and the radio in the garage was playing fairly quietly. I was only able to hear it because it was standing right by the speaker. A good summary of the weather forecast for the next day would have been, well, it's not going to rain the whole day. My mother used to use a great expression for a downpour. She'd say, by the looks of it, I'd say we're in for a right thunder plump. Usually when it rains here, it's not that heavy. We'll say, there's a wee bit of a mizzle, or sure, it's only spitting a wee bit, or the weather's a bit soft today. We're used to rain, but the wind now can take us unawares. When it gets up a bit, we might be heard to say, there's a wind out there with clean corn. That's another one my mother was fond of. Or maybe, that wind would cut clean through you. In Irish, you might say, Tommy fuair agus fleoch, I'm cold and wet. A discussion about holidays might start. Were you away anywhere the year? Aye, we were in Spain for 10 days, so we were. Right, what sort of weather did you get over there? Like, it was dead on, so it was. Right and warm, like. As I've said before, we're not that well geared up for extremes of temperature. When it freezes, we're foundered, and when it's unseasonably warm, we're boiled or melted. And the winter weather in this part of the world is mostly just desperate altogether. Some of the expressions that we would use without thinking here would leave outsiders totally flummoxed. Listening to somebody trying to control a child or two can be very entertaining. Like, would you catch yourselves on? Running around there like a hen on a hot griddle. Quit your bullocking about or I'll give us a clot around the lug hole, so well. As you're doing my head in with your acting a maggot there. Or if the child happens to be climbing too high, get down out of that before you fall and kill yourself. The word look usually gets pronounced as luck. Look what you're doing there. Or look after yourself now. Not to be confused with the word lock, meaning a lot, as in, there were a lot of boys hanging around the night, so there were. Or a lot of people wouldn't even bore with that. Or, if you had a right lot of money, you could do a whole lot of things. When it comes to phrases to express someone's cleverness, or the lack of it, we aren't short of a few. Have a wee titter of wit there now, or he hasn't an ounce of sense, has he? There's more brains in my boot now, so there is. Some people haven't the sense they were born with, or he's a few stories short of a bungalow. Watching somebody make a hash of a job, we might comment, aye, if you'd brains it'd be dangerous. Alternatively, you might hear, your man's no dozer, is he? Or, if he was any sharper, he'd cut himself. And, do you think I came up the lagging in a bubble? When asked if we were able to do something, we might reply, dead on, no problem. Or, ach, no bar. Or perhaps, aye, wee buns. In other words, it'll be dead easy. If somebody calls in unexpectedly for a brief visit, you'll probably ask him, will you take a wee cup of tea? To which they'll probably make some excuse, so you'll say, sure, go on, I've the tea already wet. How can you refuse, eh?